Hey guys, Ben here and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the CW. We've got to break down this major news that may affect some of you who are wanting to watch Superman Lois Season 4 later this year. So if you do go on to enjoy the video, please be sure to leave a like and a comment and subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future videos later this year. So I don't really need to recap what's gone on with the CW. I think by now you all know what's happened, so I'm not going to go into the past, but we all know currently right now it's in a bad state. And coming later this year is Superman Lois Season 4, aka the final season. So that's going to be coming out around October time, and they actually just finished filming today, like literally just earlier. So that is the end of Superman Lois filming. They're going to be working on post-production as we head towards October. There was a teaser of a new trailer being released sooner than we expect. You can check out that video by clicking on the top right corner of the screen. But let's go into the articles that we have to break down today, because this could affect a lot of Americans watching Superman Lois later this year, because the CW has opted to not renew affiliation deals with some stations in 7 markets across America. Now, I have to say, I saw this actually from Eric, who runs Eric's Reloaded. I'm sure most of you guys are subscribed to him, but actually he is an example of someone that will be affected if the CW doesn't sort out their shit, because for instance, he is in one of those 7 markets, and so you guys could be on those markets. So listen to this video, stay tuned as we break things down and explain what is going on with the CW and why potentially you might not be able to watch Superman Lois Season 4 in your local area on the CW. You might have to like drive out of state or have to go on the CW app like 24 hours later or something, but let's get into this. So this is from Deadline, link in the description below if you want to read it afterwards. The CW has opted to not renew affiliations with EW Scripps owned stations in 7 markets. That's just a company that own some of these stations, and basically what a broadcast station is, it's like a local station where it will basically air to all the TVs in the area. The CW, they would air all the different channels that you get, and so with them not renewing in certain markets, that means currently right now those places, and there are places in America that don't get access to the CW because they don't have the right stations and the right affiliations. So these potential 7 markets, and there's some big markets, there's not just small ones, they could be CW-less in a very short amount of time. So Nexstar Media Group, the broadcast network's corporate parent, says it is, quote, confident that replacement deals will keep the CW on air across the affected US markets, including Detroit, Miami, Tucson, Arizona, Corpus Christi, San Luis Obispo, and then in California, Norfolk, and also Norfolk in Virginia, and then also Lafayette in Los Angeles. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but anyway, those are the places that are affected. Now, when you look at it, Norfolk is a big area. That is in Virginia, and then you have the whole of Detroit. You have the whole of Miami. Like, those places are not small places. Miami and Detroit are actually really big places. Like, these are also places that are tourist hotspots, like Miami, Detroit. There's a lot of people coming in, so there's a lot of eyes on it. Maybe from people that don't normally watch the CW, maybe they would turn it on when they're in their hotel room, so that would be giving the CW extra people, extra viewers actually watching their shows. And let alone the locals who actually live in these places, they're going to be heavily affected. But Nexstar has said it is confident that it can get replacement deals to try and keep the CW on air in the affected markets. Now, I don't know if I trust them, because I know for a fact that in a lot of places around America, yes, some of them are smaller towns and smaller cities, they don't have access to the CW, and they still don't have access. And yes, this is a different situation, but who trusts Nexstar right now? So I don't believe them that they are actually confident. And also the way that they've just gone around destroying the CW, destroying the image, like why would anyone want to work with them on like a business arrangement unless it was actually profitable to them and actually valuable to them? I don't know how valuable having the CW on certain markets is. Like, we know that they don't get much viewers compared to a lot of other networks in America. And so you have to wonder, like, is the actual relationships an actual problem rather than just like the money side where they haven't come to like a new agreement. And that's why potentially if they try and get new deals, they could run into some trouble. And I have to emphasize, it is the CW themselves who have decided to not renew their deals with these script zone stations in those 7 markets. And in a statement provided to Deadline, Nexstar said that the CW affiliations in Norfolk and Lafayette would be moving to Nexstar-owned stations as of September 1st. So actually for those 2 out of the 7, they've got a short-term quick resolution to that. So in September, you will be able to watch it, but that's a long time away. You have to realize we're in April. Like, there is still CW shows running, even while the biggest show on the network, Superman Lois, is not on. There is other shows. So basically people in Norfolk and Lafayette and all these other places won't be able to watch the CW as of now until September, or for these other places like Detroit and Miami, we don't have a date. And so Nexstar went on to give even more quotes. We have interest from other station groups in the 5 Romanian markets and expect to make announcements about those affiliations soon. We are prepared for this transition and confident that the CW will continue to reach 100% of US television households without interruption, despite them opting to not renew this. Nexstar took a 75% stake in CW in 2022 for no upfront considerations. Scripps has also moved into national broadcast recently, acquiring some brands themselves, and so shifting away from its long-time practice of packing its schedule with scripted dramas, the CW has increased its live sports and unscripted offerings recently, and that is because of Nexstar, because of their kind of scheme that they want to do over the next couple of years to try and make the CW a profitable venture. But quite honestly, I think this more than anything else recently, like, yeah, okay, all the cancellations and everything, but that's them changing their path. That's them, you know, doing something different from what the CW used to be. I really now do actually see the writing on the wall for the CW. I think you've got a year or so, and then I don't know if it's going to continue, guys. Like, the moves that they are making is all about money. Like, I guarantee you the reason that they've not renewed with the script zone stations in those 7 markets is because it's just too expensive for them compared to, you know, how expensive everything else is. We know that, you know, they've introduced new programming like sports to try and make more money, to try and get more viewers, but they've been cancelling shows left, right and center. And I'm not just talking about the Arrowverse shows. I'm not talking about, you know, the other CW shows that were there before this Nexstar regime took over. I'm talking about shows that Nexstar have picked up since they came in. So I'm talking about acquired shows that have been made elsewhere and they brought it in to try and air them on the CW. We've reported on that a lot, but lots of those new TV shows have already been scrapped and cancelled, and they're not going to be available anymore on the CW, and that's because they just got cold feet and they really want their end goal to happen really soon, and I really do feel like this is just the end. And so we got one more article to break down in this video. It's again to do with the CW because they've just upped a show by 2 episodes, which is something quite surprising to me actually. And this is the CW renewal status report on All American, Homecoming and Walker. Those are the 3 main shows that have come from the ex-CW regime where it was under Mark Pedowitz. We had the Arrowverse, we had Riverdale and everything, and obviously we're not talking Superman Lois here because Superman Lois has already filmed its final season and is not going to have another season. So the 3 remaining shows, All American, the spin-off and also Walker, all film in the US, which make them more expensive to produce than Canadian-made dramas like the Arrowverse. And so the article continues by saying, amid headwinds from a soft advert market, the CW, and we all know this, has been looking for more savings beyond the ones initially identified in the network's pursuit of profitability by 2025. So that means that they've found new avenues to try and save money, and I think this is definitely going to have a big effect for those remaining shows after Superman Lois. So to do that, the CW has been relying on lower cost scripted series that are new. So those are Canadian co-productions like Wildcards, which has one of the Riverdale actors on. So that is like one of the only new shows, but it isn't like a show that they are directly linked with. They've just like bought the show and they've renewed it and they're like, okay, make this show for us and give it to us and we'll air it. And Sullivan's Crossing as well as acquisitions like The Chosen, which is like a Jesus drama or something. I mean, who really wants to watch these shows at the end of the day? But that's the type of show that they are going for, just cheap, low-cost shows. And so if they may no longer be must-haves for the CW, for Warner Bros. TV and CBS Studios to keep producing them, may be a no-go. And so that's talking about the new shows. So basically those new lower cost shows are reducing the pressure for the network to bring back all 3 of the remaining CW shows from the Mark Pedowitz era. And so as Deadline reported in November 2022, shortly after Nexstar acquired 70% of the CW and unveiled their cost-cutting plans, executives floated to CBS Studios and WB-TV a target license fee for drama series of $1 million per episode going forward. That was significantly lower than the license fees that the CW had been paying for its dramas at that point, which had been ranging from low to mid $1 million to high $1 million, but closer to $2 million an episode for the licensing fees for the shows that were being produced by CBS Studios and WB-TV, including the Arrowverse. And obviously, Superman Lois is in the midst of this because it's an expensive show. It does cost them a lot, but they came to some sort of agreement to lower the cost for this final season. And so I think the licensing fees have gone lower, but they're still not low enough for what the CW wants to do. Like, they want those really cheap TV shows so they can just run them, have as many viewers as they can try and get, but they're not really bothered if they don't get like insane numbers, because what they're paying is quite relatively cheap in comparison to what the CW used to pay for other dramas. And so pre-Nexstar CW original dramas from WB-TV and CBS Studios span between $500,000 to $1.5 million an episode, with Walker and All-American Homecoming closer to the lower end of the range, making it hard to sustain them. So right now it's up in the air if those shows are going to have any changes in their licensing fees, and that could be a big part of the decision as to why the CW might drop some of those shows and maybe end them with this season. And so believed to be in the strongest position to continue is All American, the most established and popular among the CW original series for the past few years, along with Superman Lois of course. And so the drama was exempt from the post-Nexstar acquisition turmoil because its season 6 renewal was guaranteed as part of the sale. And so All American's license fee also is believed to be more generous, north of $1 million per episode, and it films in Los Angeles, which is obviously more expensive than Vancouver in Canada, and did not have to go through the deep cuts spin-off Homecoming, also LA based, had to undergo last year to secure its 3rd season, which barely got secured. And so they had to undergo major production trimmings like Superman Lois to continue, because the price of the show was very low, and that didn't really make much sense for those producing the show. And it has to be said, the CW is just a network. They distribute, they don't create these shows. So for instance, with Superman Lois, it is Warner Brothers Television that produces it. So if they don't get a good, reasonable amount of money back from licensing it to the CW, there is very little point in them wasting their money if they're not going to get much away from it. And so with licensing fees going down, they've obviously had to come to a conclusion. Okay, we need to cut some costs, and we need to, trim series regulars like Superman Lois did. And so that means All American could come to a satisfying end with an expanded 6th season, as it's been upped from 13 episodes to 15 episodes, because the potential of a season 7 for All American would likely require a big budget cut, just like Superman Lois. And so it seems All American is probably going to end with this season, with season 6, because if the CW opts to keep its biggest scripted series for another season, it will be very, very expensive for those creating the show, and obviously there would have to be big cuts. So it makes sense that it's actually been upped by 2 episodes, and this was something that I wasn't expecting. Of course it would have been nice if Superman Lois was upped, but clearly 10 episodes was part of their deal, and in the case of this, I guess there were some negotiations that went on. Apparently if there was a season 7 for All American, they would do a kind of Glee style thing where they would introduce a next gen of young characters, so it wouldn't be the main characters in All American that those of you guys who watch All American are used to watching. So that's kind of what's going on at the CW right now, and I think these big changes are definitely not a good sign. I think the writing is on the wall for the CW. It's only a matter of time before everything goes down. But if you want to read more about what's happening at the CW, I don't want to bore you guys with all the information about All American and about Walker, because I know that you're not necessarily here to hear about those specific shows. You're here to be updated about what's going on at the CW in relation to Superman Lois specifically. So you can go ahead and read the articles in the description below, because it actually goes on quite a lot longer than I've actually gone into. But if you did enjoy this video and if this was informative, please be sure to leave a like and a comment. It would really help this video get out there. Also subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future videos. We're uploading daily right now. We stream every Thursday at 10 PM UK time, which is about 5 PM Eastern time in America. So come tune in. We talk about the latest DC news every week with some special guests who feature on the channel. So for now, click on the top right corner of the screen to watch my latest video, and I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.
I see red.